Welcome to the Love Pod, where inspiration, vision, and real connection come alive. Wherever you are, you belong here.
Welcome to the Love Pod, everyone. My name is Nathaniel. I am privileged to be your host today, and we're so fortunate to have a special guest, Sherinata Pollock, who is joining us from Karelia Creations and has a really interesting story. Started as an energy healer and is deep in, the educational space, teaching people about the EMFs. And so, I understand Karelia or Sherinata, pardon me, after losing your husband, who's an electrician, to brain cancer, and then surviving a brain tumor yourself. This has caused your home, your office, and you to basically found and become a CEO of Karelia Creations. You really have been on a mission, and this is a passionate space that you want to share with people to help bring more awareness to some of the potential harms of 5G, Wi-Fi, and you have a mission to really help um, people with the safe use of technology. So you've created a lot of products around this. You've done a lot of work, and you've been in the space for a while. So we're excited to have you on as a guest here, and I'd just love to invite you to, tell your story and let our listeners know who you are and why you doing what you're doing.
Oh, thanks, Nathaniel. I'm super excited to be here today. And you guys are on such a huge mission to, bringing light and energy and love into the world and bringing back people back together and back to communication and community with each other, which to me is, gosh, we got to get the humanness back into our world, I believe.
Mm.
And, with our AI and where we're going with everything, please, it's, we're moving at light speed,
Mm.
aren't we?
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's just such a topic that is such a hot topic, moral issues that are involved with it, ethical, moral, humanist issues, and just everything. So, I'd like to just bring it all back to like, who are we as human beings, right? And where do we come from? Why are we here? That's really what it's all about. And I think that, we're put on this earth to be in heart connection with each
Mm.
other and to connect with our spirit and connect and to be, in a happy place and not, feeling so dragged down with
Mm.
feeling pulled in a gazillion different directions, and that's kind of what's happening right now. So I think that the pendulum, I always say that, we always know the pendulum swings so high and so far, and all of a sudden everything's like brand new, and all of a sudden then people are like, after the newness wears off, we kind of like go back to like, oh, let's just, like you get a new toy, right? Same thing. You get a new toy, the toy's going to play with, the toy's going to play with, and then all of a sudden we're going to forget about the toy. So I
Mm.
truly believe that at some place and I'm going to talk about some things later, we are going to go back to coming back to our humanness again. And I think that's a great thing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think of the root word of technology and it points to the idea behind the thing. A lot of people talk about the gadget, but it really is the idea. And, I've wondered, why does technology keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller? And I feel like all technologies are our attempt at externalizing abilities that we probably already innately have as spiritual beings, like our ability to communicate with people all across the world. We know of the phenomena of people, like getting that thought about the person they should reach out and then getting that phone call. Like, so it speaks to our psychic nature. I've heard of indigenous, ancestors were able to communicate through the fires. Like I feel like we have potential of elemental mastery as a species. And so when you talk like that, it reminds me of that. Even, you bring up AI and some of the other emergent technologies. And I think that these are tools that can help humanity if they're used in harmony with us. And I think of like, I think it's actually a misnomer calling AI artificial intelligence as if we are somehow creating intelligence. I don't think we have even we even comprehend our own intelligence and where it comes from. And I believe it comes from a universal place that's inherent in all nature. And I think AI has the potential to be a capacity expansion of human collective consciousness, but it has also the risk of being manipulated and trying to be controlled to serve egoic interests, which from my perspective, this is always the problem with all. This is the only real problem, and it is an active problem in our world. Like when we do things selfishly that harms others and only think of ourselves, it causes a lot of disconnection. So those all those areas you're pulled in, I feel like we're in this age of like intense web 2.0. We're coming out of this marketing, like it's like look at my thing and do this thing, and it can be overwhelming. And I agree with you, we're meant to be happy, we're meant to be in heart coherence, we're meant to be I think more in circle with one another than in these weird pyramidical structures where one people or one group of people is at the top and everyone is siphoned at the bottom. I think we're meant to live in harmony and equality with each other. So that's my kind of my perspectives on what you're saying, Sharonata.
I agree. And I think I have to say this though, we know that our Vibratreks are tribe, right?
Mhm.
And we also understand, like many of us do understand that, and some people don't. However, I think the bottom line is that when we realize the difference, um, with going back to moral issues and realizing that, you know, as I say, I was just speaking to somebody the other day. She's an AI aficionado. She knows so much. She's been studying it for 5 years. She's been in social media. She's a publicist. She does all this work. And she's been in the field for, 40 years doing this work. And when you say AI intelligence, the intelligence, you're correct, because honestly, it really is who is behind it, who is giving this intelligence, giving it its thoughts, and, so it can speak back to us or speak to others. And I think that's the biggest thing because she honestly says, well, really, it's dumb as a box of rocks. It doesn't really know anything until we, as human beings, tell it, feed it the information.
Mhm.
So I think, it definitely comes down to the intelligence of the person behind it when you're thinking about it. Who is feeding it the information? What is it that they're looking for? And, does it have a soul? Well, I don't think so. It doesn't have a soul. It's like we have the souls. So there you have it, and it is really about, getting it into the right hands with the right people. And that's a whole nother topic. So let's just get back out of that wormhole into the
Yeah.
black hole, into
Yeah,
getting
I
back to our reality, because
well,
it really can go deep.
it can go deep. And I think that there's, as our species is awakening, we're starting to see, how much more interconnected all of life is. And I think this is, a perfect segue into talking about electromagnetic frequencies and what they are, how they can affect us. Because as we know, like everything in this universe it's not solid. It's frequency and vibration. And we are electromagnetic beings as human beings. We don't often think of ourselves that way, but we have an electromagnetic field. And I mean, you probably have, since you've been in this area of expertise so long, like a lot of the breakthroughs, like Heart Math Institute talking about heart brain coherence and how important it is. You mentioned that to be in our hearts and how does this work? So I know like part of your story is pretty you know um, challenging in terms of like surviving brain tumor. You lost your husband as well. What has been your direct experience of yeah? Walk us through your journey, Sharonata, because clearly you
Okay.
have a passion here.
Yes, yes, yes. So getting back to how we got started originally, we are energetic beings living in this, physical environment, which is now very energetic as well. And we have, our EEGs and EKGs, and we're just giving this off all over the place, but we are in a perfect harmony. So electronics and energy are not a perfect harmony. And so my first husband actually passed away in 1999, years ago, obviously, with a glioblastoma brain tumor, which is the number one, like it's the most aggressive brain tumor you can have on this planet. There still isn't a cure for it. So what is so fascinating what's so important about that is, well, he was an electrician and he was surrounded by EMF radiation, right?
Mhm.
So there was a study that was back in the 90s that they did that said that electricians had the highest rate of glioblastoma, that type of glio,
Hmm.
had the highest rate per occupation than any other occupation.
Interesting. Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Yes. And so, guess what? Today, they still don't have a cure for the glio,
Mm.
sadly, because it's so super aggressive. You can be diagnosed in 3 months, you're either gone, or it could be, 9 months to a year. And, usually it's not much longer after that. It depends on the person. So, sadly, that same brain tumor, that cancer, is one of the leading causes of death for children between 0 to 18 to 20 years old now. And they still don't have that cure. And sadly, that was unheard of back in like when I was growing up. It was say leukemia, we had lots of different things. But when it comes to cancers now, it is one of the highest. What has changed? What has changed, right? So, when my husband was an electrician at that point in time, and I've been in this business now for 10 years, and I've known many people say I have a brother, son, whatever, somebody in the business of electrician, and they've gotten something. So a brain tumor, glios, all types of tumors. Um, but the thing is that that we weren't even really using technology then, right? We were not really using technology, and that
Hmm.
is what has changed. So back in the 1999, we were just barely using we were using beepers and flip phones. The
Hmm.
person who had the mobile phone was the CEO or the people who were, you know, higher level, and they had those big mobile phones and things like
Hmm.
that. So it wasn't really that time. Now, fast forward to now, that's what shifted. In the meantime, life goes on. I, remarry and I have a life, and my son is getting older because I had a 1-year-old son at the time when he
Okay.
passed.
Oh my goodness.
So
Wow.
yeah, it
I
was
can imagine
really,
that how challenging that would be.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because within like he was diagnosed in November and then May he was gone. So really I had six
Wow.
months and that was it,
Wow.
preparation. And we, didn't have life insurance. Those are the things that happen at that because he was only 34 at the time.
Mm.
So in the meantime, fast forward to 2013, well, about 2012, I built my new office. I got married, we moved a new home and started a family again and all that good stuff, fell in love, still married, still have the same, two children, and it's just
Wonderful.
amazing. They're all older now, so life is good. And so in the same home that I'm in now, I had a different office, which was off my bedroom. And I had built this amazing office with all the technology and, the computers, the modem was in there. I was doing Facebook Lives, doing my life coaching and doing energy healing and all this work. And I didn't realize about a year and a half later, I was really feeling lethargic, didn't understand what was going on. I'm like, why am I feeling this way? Because I am usually this peppery all the time, a lot of energy.
You've got a lot
And
of energy. That's great. Yeah.
I do, yeah. And always really optimistic. The glass is always full, yada yada. And by like 1 o'clock, I'm like dying. I cannot keep my eyes open. I was getting headaches, which I never
Mm.
get, and migraines, and just not feeling well. And I'm like, this is so unlike me. And so then when somebody said, and now mind you, this is about a year and a half later after I built my home office, somebody said to me, they're like, oh, you know what? You're surrounded by all this radiation in your little office, and then you're sleeping with it off your bedroom, so your body never has time to heal. I'm like, oh, I never thought about that,
Mm.
And so, because who's talking about this? This is back in 2013, 14. We're in 4G, 3G, and 4G at this point. We're not
Mhm.
talking about this stuff then. So all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, you know what? You might gotta have a point here. And I started putting two and two together about my first husband, doing the research, started doing research on this. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? But this same person who told me gave me a stone called shungite. And she says, I want you to use this. And this is something new. It neutralizes EMF radiation, and I'm telling you, you're gonna feel better. I'm like, okay, I believe in crystals and things, but I was like, I don't know how this is going to work that fast. I didn't expect anything. Well, let me tell you something. Within 3 days, all of my symptoms were gone. I couldn't
Interesting.
believe it.
Hmm.
And I was feeling better. I was alert. I was, just back to my normal self. And I'm like, what? How is this even possible? So, of course, just like, an Oprah Winfrey situation, everybody needs shungite, everybody needs to start learning about this. So I started incorporating it into my life coaching and the work I was doing in my books and programs and things like that. And then come 20, and at that point, I was making stickers and bracelets and just telling people how important it is, because we like going back to, if I'm doing energy healing, I need to have a clean field. If I want to, just like if we want positivity and we want our lives to shift, we have a negative attitude and mindset, our body is going to react what our mind is thinking. It's not going to heal, correct? So, it's all linked together, our mindset and everything. So at this point now, I'm doing a lot of speaking about EMF radiation and speaking on stages along with my other work. Fast forward we know what happened in 2020. I don't need to say that. And that's when I said,
You
oh,
can. It's a freedom of
well,
speech platform here.
yeah. And the whole world changed,
Yeah.
stopped,
Yeah.
right? And everybody became a life coach online.
Yeah.
And I said, I do not want to compete with this. It's not my calling. Everybody's behind a computer and people need to hear about this. This was a
Mm,
story. So I'm like, the children are here. The children are behind the computers. Everybody's doing Zoom. They're locked in their rooms. They're not going outside. This is the pandemic.
mm,
That is the pandemic.
yeah.
And so that's when I went full force into this business. And I said, everybody really truly needs to know more about this as much as mindset. And then a year and a half later, I realized I wasn't really, all of a sudden it hit me. I couldn't barely hold a pen. I couldn't really put my hand up like this. It was like as high as it could go. Was not the same as the other one. My foot started dragging. And being that I had my first husband who, years ago had this issue, I'm like, oh my God, I think I have a brain tumor. And I kind of, even through meditation, I'm like, that was my confirmation that, I just knew it. So I marched myself after our anniversary weekend. I said, well, honey, I will go get myself checked out, even though I am a mess right now. After we come back from our anniversary weekend, because that's always a priority. And then I marched myself into the emergency room, and they're like, yeah, you have a brain tumor the size of a plum and you need to get it out right now. And so they admitted me in the hospital. That's what happened. They did the biopsy. The biopsy said it was 18% growth rate. And here's the fascinating part of the story, if it's not fascinating enough already, is that the type tumor that I had is called a type 2 meningioma brain tumor. A meningioma type 2 brain tumor, normally women get a type 1 brain tumor, and it's very, very slow growing. Okay. They could have it for years and years and finally have a difference in their, feel a difference in their body. Mine was a fast growing 18%. You roll back the time, it literally began about 2012, 2013, or right around that time. We rolled it back. It was 1 centimeter the time when I started getting the headaches. And oops, I just clicked something. I
No, it
have.
was because you did this will actually, I think
Oh, that's so funny.
yeah.
There you go. That was just to make sure everybody knew it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the type 2, normally the people that get that is usually Black men over 60 or people surrounded by a lot of radiation.
Oh, interesting.
And that was my biggest awakening calling. And I said, wow, not only was before I was telling the story about my husband, my first husband, and now this is a reality truly hit, is that I am no different than any other person who has a home office in their bedroom. They have Wi-Fi routers in their bedroom or where they're sleeping or in the main areas where people are at. And, our bodies never get a break. And this is the story that I think is so important for people here. And that's why every time I do a podcast, I wear this shirt that says brain tumors. Would give it would give it 1 star if I could. Very bad, do not recommend. And I am grateful to be here to speak about it
Yeah.
today, because there are many people who can't and never will, and never have that chance. And I wouldn't wish it on anybody. So that's why I do what I do. And I think the mission is very important. I think that we're making great headways with people who are waking up and realizing, yes, EMF radiation is real and it is a problem. And even though things have changed online, and it's $1 trillion business, and studies may not be there the way they used to be, at least in the US. Um, that's a different story. And so I always tell people there are definite places to go find the information. And I always tell them, go, to the websites that are really important, that they can find everything that's real from the scientists and the doctors that are on like Environmental Health Trust. And there's a couple Canadian ones and things like that.
Okay.
So anyway, so that's kind of the story. It was a long one, but I think it's really important for people to understand the impact of like why and how I do what I do, the reason behind it, because it really is a personal mission.
No, I appreciate you sharing your story and your mission, Sharonata. And I'm also like, I have questions. I've wondered a lot about this myself because, we live in, first, like first, the wavelengths are everywhere. I mean, it's not like we can really escape it. We can do things to minimize it. Like in our home, we can have plugged in routers, and we can have, like you're talking about some technology that is maybe more of a natural kind that can help dissipate some of these energies. Um, but the term like EMFs, maybe just to clarify for our audience, we use these terms, we don't might not always have clarity. EMF refers to electromagnetic frequencies, right?
Or fields.
Or fields.
They're interchangeable.
Okay.
Interchangeable.
Because we all are radiating electromagnetic frequencies and you mentioned like because there's a lack of harmony, so certain current electronics are out of harmony with the our biology. And maybe can you talk a little bit more how this that harm is coming? Is it from saturated sources? Like obviously electricians are around like huge amounts of current and things in the work that they're doing. They have more direct exposure. So what has been your like your research, and how have you because I've also heard some of these things being brought up to maybe more uh people who would dismiss them or have maybe vested interest in them, and saying like, well, our phones and things, they don't emit particles. It's a radiative force. So how how do these fields affect us, and what is actually going on? Can you share more about that? And then maybe the follow-up question is like, how does something like shungite or some devices that are out there, how does it help with that if literally we're being bombarded by these all the time?
Great questions. There's just so many. If we have to find a place where to start, because it really does open up so much conversation.
Yeah,
And, I may be an expert on shungite. I'm not a doctor. I, read studies and sometimes I refer to other things, but this is what I do know.
I
And
wouldn't go
there's
to a
just,
doctor for information on this.
oh, that's true. Naturopathic,
Our daughter
functional
was born
medicine.
out of the system for a reason. Yeah, there's not a lot of trust
Yes.
there, if any.
No, 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 no. That's true. That's true. Yeah, gosh, that just gave me goosebumps. So I get where you're coming from. Um, okay, so okay, so there is a natural Schumann resonance on our planet, right? And our body is resonating. It's all, this is one thing I always say. It's like, the sun rises and the sun sets, right? And we breathe and we breathe out, and we're all connected with the wind, the breeze, the flow, the ebbs and the flows, and it's all synchronistic. Okay. Then, and it is connected. Now, mind you, we might have a solar flare that's going to blast us out. We know that happens. We have a Mercury retrograde that comes in and out. I'm like, blah. So, because those are, things throw us off balance, right? And it's a known fact. This is science. However, when you have a resonance of like the 4G, which is where it start like 3G and 4G years ago. We had that, and those were the long waves that were coming and going, and they were at a gigahertz and 100 megabytes, and whatever we're at on our Schumann resonance, like say we're a 7, this was not too far from us in our field, but we knew that we were going into 5G. Now we're talking about shorter bursts, right? And it's like we can only do that for so long. And we're not getting our big breaths of air. We're just getting inundated with it, and it's stacking on us. So now we're talking about 5G, and the 5G is gigabytes that are getting even faster and bigger and shorter, and now they're everywhere because they want us to connect to all things, and the smart connection and the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth and wearing on our bodies with the smart wearables, which I think are not smart. And then so now we're stacking this, and our body is never having that break. And even when we leave, we go into our cars, and now our cars have this as well. And there are many of us who are so sensitive that we cannot handle these things. And or sometimes people don't know that they're sensitive, but they have pains in their body because it's creating inflammation, a silent inflammation that's chronic. And now they go to the doctor, and the doctor says, oh no, that's bursitis. Oh no, that's trigger finger. Oh no, that's just migraines. You need to take this or that. But in the meantime, where is it coming from? An underlying, it's like drinking dirty water all the time. It's
Hmm.
like drinking, eating, bad foods all the time. There's only so much sugar our body can't handle, right?
Hmm.
So it's the same exact thing. And to me, it doesn't take rocket science to figure this out. We
Hmm.
don't need studies upon studies to figure
Hmm.
this out. Now we're going to 6G.
Well,
Okay.
you're the first person to let me know. I don't watch a lot of mainstream, so or any.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now they're already seeding, they're seeding us for
Mm.
6G. It's what we need because it's artificial intelligence, because it's the newest, it's we have to get to holographic so we can teleport and dismember our entire body particles into a human form again somewhere else on this world, whatever it's going to be. I'm just kidding. But maybe at some point they want to be Star Trek. So, but the point is now that's going to be at terabyte speed.
Hmm.
And that is not what our body, none of this our bodies can handle because we know already where we're at with 5G in children and growing up and just alone how, and I'm going to go into some of the things that will fix in our body, but I just want you to think about the expansion of this and the amount of stacking that is doing already. So what they want to do with 6G is really take 5G out of our homes and have available everywhere. So no matter where you go and what you're doing, not only is it going to affect our entire body field, but now we're being tracked, and that's a whole nother security issue going down a moral and ethical path, road at that point. So, which I don't really
Well, I
agree
think
with.
that's already that the lid's been blown off with Snowden and all that stuff, right? Even the acronyms of smart technology. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot here, Sharonata, and I think for those listening, and it's easy how a lot of this stuff can turn towards fear. And I think that my
Hmm.
understanding of all disease is rooted in some way or another of dis-ease. Our minds are very powerful, our beliefs are very powerful. Um, the foundational principles that Lightheart Vision is based off come from the Christ letters, and he talks about how he was capable of really allowing the miraculous, the healings and everything from. And he talks about in the letters how all disease is a mattering of lowering vibration of particular organs and things in the body, and that when we return to a harmonious state of the loving intelligence that gives us life, that healing naturally occurs, right? So I just want to frame it in that because I think there's a risk when we are looking at things that we really have very little, if not any control over, like the advancement of technologies, whether it's AI or the developments of, some of these more broadband technologies, like we can resist them. But I'm wondering how can we best adapt, like, because I don't think that any one of us is going to stop the next, you know, I've heard, and I looked at a lot of things. I was very out of the box with the whole, what I call the plandemic. It definitely was an intentional, there was intentionality, and it looked like, the introduction of 5G was correlated to a lot of the symptoms of, people getting sick. And I really do question germ theory. I think that terrain theory sounds a lot more reasonable in terms of like, yeah, if we're out of harmony, it's like when they had a a garbage worker strike in New York. Of course they got rats. You can't blame the rats. I mean, the garbage was there for them to eat. So just, so I feel like it's that true. I wonder about How do you think we can bridge the gap so that we're rising in our spiritual awareness as beings? You talk about being spiritual beings, so that these technologies maybe aren't interfering with our systems too much. Like what are some of the solutions you've seen in your research that you've done?
So I think what's really, really important, and going back to the topic, is, EMFs, we call it EMF screen time and inflammation, I think, or no, it was EMF inflammation and rituals is what we called it,
Mm.
is the name of this. And you actually had something very interesting because it was on your YouTube, and you had this like little YouTube short thing that you did, and it was like an intro or something, and it had Julia, and she was like with the little girl. Maybe that's where I thought you had another little girl, and she was like with this with a little tablet, and she's cleaning things up. And then there's somebody who's like doing photography. You know what I'm talking about? That little
Oh, that
video
was
that
our,
you.
yeah, that was the video we created as our it was a student project actually that was our like our promotional video. Yeah. And that
Okay,
was
yes,
Luciana. Yes. Yeah.
yes, and oh, that was okay.
Yeah.
And you were on there, and you're like you got your tea and the candle and whatever.
Yeah.
So those are the rituals, and those are the things. It's about coming back to who we are.
Mm.
And it is so important to rip ourselves away from what doesn't, like, when our brain is feeling so clogged, because we know it's a dopamine rush. Social media is a dopamine rush.
Yeah.
Scrolling left, scrolling right, scrolling. It's a dopamine rush.
Yeah.
It's all addictive behaviors, just like commercials are addictive behaviors.
Yeah.
So it's about coming back to pulling away, like literally ripping ourselves from it, being like if you're an alcoholic. And I think we've all been guilty of this because sometimes I just need to get things done for the business. I have to be on social media for the business, whatever it might be.
Sure.
And and it really is ripping ourselves away from it and coming back to being human again,
Hmm. Hmm.
going out and playing, going out and getting sun on your skin and your
Yeah.
eyes to heal your eyes. I wear blue blocker. I don't need to wear glasses, but I wear blue blocker glasses every
Yeah.
day. I have a window right here. I look outside to work on it's like these rituals that we take every single day. It's so important. Wake up with a positive mindset. Do your meditation. If you pray and you use the Bible, use that, and start and journal. And then you can take that journaling information. If you want to put that into your chat, put that in your chat. But just make sure you're still writing with your hand
Hmm.
and using your hand-eye coordination, because we're going to lose that too if we're not careful.
Yeah.
So, and I agree with you in every possible way. It's not about staying in fear, but knowledge is power.
Hmm.
And that's the most important thing. Remember, because when we're educated and knowledge is power, we're ahead of the pendulum, and we're not being swung with it and being caught in the middle of it and
Yeah.
pulled down into the muck. So we want to be above the mark. And I always say it's, important to be smarter than our smarter electronics so that we can live healthy in a digital age. And that is exactly what it's all about. Because in order for us to become um, to heal our bodies, like you said, we have to have that positive mindset. When I was released out of the hospital after brain surgery, less than 24 hours later, and they called it a miracle cure. That's what he wrote down. He's like, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, you have this. Like, what did you do differently? I said, well, I listened to, frequency music. I worked on myself.
Hmm.
And I did not allow any negative behaviors or comments, or even somebody to say to me, "Oh, I'm so sorry, you're not
Hmm.
feeling
Hmm.
good. I'm
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
sorry." I told everybody, I do not want anybody sorry.
Yeah.
Don't give me any sorry. I'm going to be fine. And I think that's the most important thing, is because there
Hmm.
is a vibrational level with our thoughts, our words, and our
Yeah.
actions. And, so one thing I want to say is that three really important things to know, because time's going to tick by, and if you ever want me on again, we can do this again. I'm just trying to slow down and not talk so much because I
Take your
have so
time,
much into.
Sherinata. We don't have any time constraints here, so we
Thank
can go for as long as we need to. Yeah.
you. I know. Okay, thank you. So I call it. I think it's important for people to know that I call it M&Ms, or M&Ms. And EMF affects us like M&Ms.
Hmm.
And if you have a little bit, well, a couple M&Ms is okay. Peanut has a little more protein, but if you have you eat too many M&Ms, we're going to be in trouble. So and I say, how do EMFs affect us like M&Ms? My acronym is this, is that the M stands for the mitochondria.
Mhm.
Okay. It's our building blocks. It's the free radicals that are literally affecting our body that's coming from the EMF radiation, electromagnetic fields that are affecting our body from our cell phones, holding it up to our ears, holding it on our bodies, being in a Wi-Fi environment, sleeping near your Wi-Fi router, having it, within a certain many feet of you, just like if you're going to stand in front of a microwave all day long, it
Mhm.
is not any different.
Mhm.
So if people think it's okay, then you're not the person should be listening to this show.
Yeah.
So, um,
Comes down to
that's
environmental hygiene, right? Like being aware of, and I know a lot of
I
these,
love
you
that
know,
environmental hygiene.
yeah, there are technologies, like a few that I'm aware of that can help disperse some of this energy. Because I agree with you, it's the concentration, right? Like, it's like you can't, put your hands on a electrical thing and be okay. Like we have certain, thresholds of, but I like how you frame it. It's like we have these capacities and, if once you go past that certain threshold, then you're going to end up with problems. But our body is always healing and it's always regenerating itself within
Well,
reason, right? Within reason, it can only
within
take,
reason,
yeah.
because if you're going to go out and get a suntan, it's one thing. But if you're going to go out in the height of the day, you're going to get sunburned if you're not going to put anything on your body and shield yourself from the sun.
Hmm.
It's going to be the same thing with
Hmm.
this.
Yeah, yeah,
And
makes sense.
if you're going to go in the car with a seatbelt and without a seatbelt, you get in an accident, you're going to get a chance of getting hurt if you're wearing your seatbelt. If you're not wearing your seatbelt, say if you were wearing your seatbelt. So it's going back to awareness is key in how can we, live safely in this world. And to think about those things. So,
Hmm.
and the thing is, it's like if our mitochondria is not healing or repairing itself, what does that lead to? That leads to tumors, cancers. It can lead to inflammation in the body. It can lead to infertility, definitely, because they know that sperm counts are the lowest ever. Ovarian cancer is higher in the youngest ages ever. Breast, we know that if they hold it on their breast, the breast tissue is inflamed. So you have to think about, of course, where you're holding this on your body. Now, cell phones on your body or smartwatches on your body. Pain and tingling. I wear this, and that's because it's on my middle finger, so I'm not going to just point it like that. But
You just
these
did.
are, I did, I know. I didn't mean to. That was subliminal, wasn't it?
What are you saying here, Sharonada?
Okay, so I'm just going to go like this.
Yeah.
Why do I use this? Because my fingers, if I do not wear something and I am touching technology, will get tingly and
Hmm.
numb. It will get numbness and tingly.
Okay.
So when I wear my EMF, blockers, the rings, it never, I never get it,
Okay.
ever.
Interesting.
And so even if I'm using a corded mouse, I still get it. So some people say,
Hmm.
oh, it's just because it's Bluetooth. No, it's because it still has an energy that's coming out of it. And that's what's really important for people to understand that because people who are not like are sensitive, hypersensitivity, they don't feel it. So they think we're a little crazy.
Hmm.
But being that I am hypersensitive, but I've learned to work with this and my nutrition is a huge factor. That's another part. So it's really, really important to know that, yes, our body is going to react. And that's why I say, people might get trigger finger, people might have numbness and tingling. They might think it's bursitis, you know, um, and clearing their throats or having indigestion. So there's so many, how about rashes, the rashes that people get from wearing smartwatches. And it's not just those. Some people I know, just holding a cell phone will give them rashes.
Hmm.
So it's the depth of the body of how it can repair or not repair itself is really, really important. So then you go down to the neurons. The N is for the neurons. So that's the mitochondria is the N for M and M's. So neurons, neurotoxicity, the hormones, we're talking hormones, endocrine system. We know that for sure. It's a known fact that Bluetooth and scrolling and the blue light, I should say blue light more than Bluetooth, how social media and blue light sort of affects the circadian rhythm, right? Affects us from going to sleep at night and waking up in the morning. So if you're going to sleep with the blue light on and you're scrolling as you're going to sleep,
Hmm.
it's going to affect your body. You like literally, I know this for myself. If I am on the computer late and I am not wearing my amber glasses, the amber night glasses on the
Hmm.
Bluetooth, the blue light, I will be wired. I will be so wired. I cannot go to bed. It's going to take me forever. And then people are going to take a melatonin, and that means your body's not going to make its own melatonin.
Yeah, there was a risk on
So
taking melatonin for a period of time. Well, and that's a natural thing, right? Like because we would see blue light more in the day, so it's telling your brain it's still daytime, right? It's not like it's
exactly,
necessarily the technology that's doing anything unnatural. It's just keeping us in that waking cycle, right?
which is unnatural.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean it's using it's interrupting with our natural rhythms because it's just reflecting of it's not that the blue light is necessarily harmful, it's that it's keeping us
That's
in
not
that
true.
cycle. That's not true?
No, it's not true.
Okay, so
The
the
blue
blue
light
light it,
actually does affect it dries out the eyes because we are watching the computer. So now we're not blinking enough, or
okay.
we're watching the cell phone and whatever it is our electronics are. We're working on this. Now we're working with this light coming into our eyes
Hmm.
and we're not blinking enough because we're staring at it or working really, really hard. There is increase in glaucoma, there's an increase in hypertension in the eyes. There's so many things that the ophthalmologists are now finding based on what's happening with the blue light
Mm,
in computers.
interesting.
So it's really, really important. That's why I say I'm looking up, I watch here, and then I take my break and I look outside. And then that way I have long range, short range vision.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
blink, I come back.
And that I like how you
Really
frame it
eye health.
about going back to the humanness. And I agree, like myopia can happen, and eye strain, like a lot of people aren't aware. You bring up the eyes, there was something invented in the late 1800 called eye therapy glasses, and they're actually just perforated holes like pinholes that you look out of, and that actually exercises your muscles that flex your cornea, right? Because eye glasses are essentially like crutches; they fix your focal length. So, so it's interesting. I like how you reframe things back to returning to being human, moving. It's interesting because we like create a lot of technologies that we have to adapt to. Like we create a computer that we have to sit and work on instead of, you mentioned Star Trek, talking to a computer that and you walking around seems a lot more like being a human than having to sit and work on a keyboard to work, right? Um, uh, yeah, no, I appreciate your perspective. I was going to ask you because you mentioned, and I know you're getting into the next M, so I don't want to interrupt too much, but
That's
I
okay.
was wondering if, neurons, you talked about neurons and you mentioned nutrition too. I'm wondering, I remember reading a book on like megadosing vitamin D, and it helped. There was one person who had extreme hypersensitivity to EMFs and like couldn't leave the house. And I think it was in that book he talked about how like vitamin D therapy actually helped that person. And I know that he talks in that book about, I'm pretty sure it's the same one, how like the reason we get sunburns is because we don't have enough vitamin D, as odd as that sounds, because vitamin D is like a natural hormone that our body would produce. So I'm wondering too if that, for some of these people who are having symptoms, I know that a deficiency in certain vitamins and minerals can cause
Mm,
health related things. Like
mm.
Dr. Andrew Saul talks a lot about this, right? Like a lack of vitamin C causes all kinds of health issues. It's not that these health issues are cured by vitamin C. It's that a lack of vitamin C can cause, like I mean, Linus Pauling showed that you can cure most cancers from high megadosing intravenous vitamin C in the 1950s. But of course, that didn't suit certain agendas,
Right.
that wanted to profit off, pharmaceutical patents and things like that. But like I wanted to ask you because you brought it up and I don't want to forget, like, have you found in your research that that's a component too? Like when people are generally healthy, doing the things like being in the lakes and in the sunshine and moving and then having like more balance because it's unreasonable to
So,
think that people will not use technology, right?
right. It's really, really important. So, for example, people who I go around muscle testing everybody. I do kinesiology everywhere I go. Hey, you want to see how your cell phone's affecting your body? I do that with everybody. Here's with a sticker, here's without a sticker, here's why it works, here's why it doesn't work.
Okay.
Blah blah blah. So, and for how many years have I been doing this? A long time. And what I have noticed are people who, and this isn't, and it's been backed up by facts of other functional medicine doctors I've listened to on podcasts and things like that. So it wasn't a surprise to me. But people who are saltwater swimmers, who or live by the ocean, who go in the ocean all the time, are their resistance to EMF is massive. It's like it's fantastic. People who work out a lot really up on their magnesiums, like the minerals, because it strips our body of minerals. And that's what happens.
Okay.
It begins to
Interesting.
pull ourselves, pulls the minerals out of our body. It dehydrates us because
Mm,
that's what it's doing. It's like this slow lying radiation that's coming into our body, right? And so it's drying our bodies out.
mm,
And that's one thing, like every time I go, like my acupuncture is always like, you are dehydrated. And this is still my issue today is like, I really work on like trying to make sure I have enough sodium because my body is dehydrated. It's like it's just what happens to it. So some of us are more than others. So it's really important for you to, you can even take Epsom salt baths to help stabilize
hmm
EMF
hmm
radiation. But it's really important, definitely, to make sure you're taking enough magnesium, take chromium, magnesium, selenium, all that, the copper, because when you think about it, copper um, like literally, people use Faraday cages and make them out of copper, silver. And if we don't have that in our body, what's it doing to our body, right? So we don't have it, it's not working to heal it and, neutralize the radiation for us to build our, cell blocks up again.
Yeah, yeah.
And if that makes sense.
No, it
So
does. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, so it's really, really important to use those things and to make sure you're getting the right minerals and supplements. And if you're not absorbing them, you have to think about why am I not absorbing them? What is going on in my body and what is my environment? I always say it's the body, the devices, and the space. Very important to make sure you look at where's your body, in how are you protecting your body? Where is your body at in conjunction to all of this electronics? Where are you going? What are you doing? Where are you sleeping? How are you eat? What are all these things? And are you neutralizing it on your body? Secondly, is your space. Make sure your space is safe, protected, for yourself and your loved ones. And then no matter where you're going, is it your car or whatever, going back to your body again, I guess. And then the devices. You want to make sure that the devices are because anything that your body touches, if it is not neutralized, your body is going to absorb it. Think of it as a football helmet. And sometimes I
Mm,
say, think of it as a condom. But it's true because you want to stay protected. If your body is touching it, you
yeah.
don't want it filtering onto your body. That's why I wear this because you know what? I might have a bracelet on, but guess what? My bracelet isn't touching the actual mouse itself, but my finger is. Make
Mm,
sense?
yep.
So yeah, so I mean, this is real, and it's just some people like I think that's why people love my information because they can begin to relate to it because they were all of a sudden realizing, wait, I get that too. That's happening to me too, and they're like, wow, I didn't think about that, and but then there's many like you who are over ahead of the curve because you're already possibly thinking about all these things and how it can all work in your life. So anyway, but getting back to the neurons, brain fog, headaches, migraines, ADD, inability to focus. So now we think about our children. Think about our children. The amount of ADD and ADHD that's out there. They're bouncing off the walls. There are mice studies that show that within an EMF environment that the within like minutes, the mice are bouncing off of the walls.
Mm,
So
interesting.
what do you, yeah,
Well,
so what,
we know that ADD is a hypersen like I have definitely I never realized it until just recently, but like I've always been hypersensitive, right? So you're talking about
hmm
people like I could walk into a house and I grew up in the country, so right now we're currently in the city, but it's not where we intend to stay. But I notice my energy levels are affected being in city vibrational limits. But I remember being so sensitive, like I'd walk into a house and I mean, nowadays you don't have with the modern TV, but like when the old DVD players, if it was just a blue screen, I would
Hmm.
walk into a house and I could feel the TV was on, like, so
Hmm.
I do see that, that individuals who are hypersensitive are more prone to being dysregulated from the amount of wavelengths that are going on,
And
because
that's why, oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
go
Well, I
ahead.
was going to say, and integrate into that with children. That's why
Mhm.
it's so crucially important. I can't express it enough. I'm talking from the moment a woman is pregnant, and that baby's inside of her, to think about, where are you putting your electronics? Are you putting them
Mhm.
on your lap? Are you putting an iPad? Are you putting a cell phone on your belly? Where is it in conjunction? Because that baby is going to feel it. As they're growing up and they're little babies, are you putting that cell phone in their hand and that iPad in front of them? Are you one of those ones who put it right in front of their faces while you're nursing? Are you on there with the phone? Because I'm telling you, it is going through their brain and it is going to affect their learning. It will. It's a known fact. And how can it not, when we already have proof everywhere? And now you have people, from around the world, the countries are starting to say, wait a minute, they're not under 15 years old. They're not even allowed on social media. We're not allowing, cell phones in classrooms. I mean, all through where I live in our county, they don't let the cell phones in classrooms anymore. Leave them out, that they're not allowed.
Well, it's
And
definitely the talk about epidemic of our time is like, people being addicted to their screens. It's definitely it's a big thing. And I think even beyond the energetics, just the attention grabbing of what people are engaged with on their screens. I mean, it's amplified a lot. When I was a young boy, it was like there was a few, maybe five or six channels, and then now it's like continuous streaming, and like you said, scrolling and all this stuff. So it's why do you think that if there is such negative impacts on this thing, you say there is a lot of proof out there. Why are people inclined to, like, I've wondered a lot about this. Why do we do things that we know are not great for us? Sure, Nada.
why do we drink alcohol? Why
Yeah,
do people, do
I'm
what
just
they want to
wondering.
do? We just
y-
like it because it's easy, it's fun, it's new, it's technology. How about advertisement? What about back when cigarettes were like the best thing to have in the whole wide world? You were
Mhm.
sexy, you were cool, Joe Cool, and what was the one? Virginia Slims, you're sexy. Those were the campaigns that I remember.
Yeah,
And, and it was advertised everywhere. And
yeah.
for how many years? It's going to be the same thing, I guarantee you, in so many years from now. It's a $1 trillion industry. It's
Hmm.
like as soon as we buy one cell phone, we're marketed another cell phone because it's not good enough,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know. And the same with our technology. As soon as we get one installation in, it's something else. So it is, it's an industry and it's a fad and it's how we're being educated. And that's why we have to do proper discernment for what serves us and our families and our life. And I think it's really, really important, if that makes sense.
It does. And I know you have the other M you want to talk about, but I am curious to know after that, like, what are
I
the
am curious. Just
I am
kidding.
curious. Yeah, maybe it's me. Um, I would like to know what an example of a super healthy modern individual. Because I mean, I know there are people who refuse to have, cell phones and mobile devices and things, but that is far and few in between. Most of us rely on it for our work, for businesses, for keeping connection with people. So, like, I'd love to hear your perspectives on what can be done to increase that hygiene and make things, focused more on being healthy and human, as you said. And I mean, to me, because we can have an awareness of, negative repercussions, but if we become afraid of those things, well, we know what that does to our consciousness as well, right? Like we can just be like, okay, well, it's not healthy to binge watch TV all the time, maybe we'll have it still and, watch like Friday night movies as a family, but that's it, kind of thing. And we can set boundaries and limitations. So yeah, I'd love to know, like, if you have, tips and tricks. I know you have a book on it. So I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more about that too.
Yeah, yeah. I gonna probably be coming. I need to come up with another one because that was a few years ago and everything is even updated. And gosh, anyway, so well, I want to I want to go back to the M because the
Yeah.
other M is really important for what you just asked me about, which is a
Okay.
healthy person do in this world. And we have physical and mental health, right? And I think they're both really in spiritual health. They're all really integrated and very important in this, presentation that we're talking about.
Hmm.
So the microbiome is greatly affected because that is our second brain, that is the gut, and that is so, so important. And it is actually affected because it affects our central nervous system. And it begins, so it is it's throwing us off in the central nervous system and also going back to our hormones. And when our food is not being absorbed properly or our hydration, we're being dehydrated, it's not absorbing properly, the studies show that it affects the gut. It's all in synchronicity. So really we want to go back to, let's, eat, really focus on eating the best diet you can, having, really good foods that are holistic foods, organic foods, healthy water, having enough minerals in your body. And I always say, this is my one thing I always tell people, listen, this is not a one size fits all scenario at all, not whatsoever. Um, it's really important, I mean, for people who eat, I want to say, do you like sauerkraut or do you like kimchi? Are you like bananas? You like plantains, tomato. Okay. So that's the whole point. It's like this is not one size fits all. You have to do what you feel is right in your family, what works for you in your home, what works for right for your lifestyle. How about people who live in the suburbs, like you said, compared to the city, compared to downtown, like big time city? You have townhomes with, so there's just so many different scenarios. And I think that's the most important thing to think about. What works for you? So what to me, what works is, and it's going back to recognizing that there's a situation here, right? Recognize that it's like the 3 R's. Recognize there's a situation. Reduce what you can, reduce, reuse, recycle, right? So you want to reduce your EMF exposure as often and as much as you can. And you want to make sure that wherever you go and whatever you do, like I said, you want to think about your body, you want to think about your body, your space, and your technology. And then you want to just be responsible and realistic in your own life, right? And you want to think about your children and what's the health for, where are they at in their health? Their life and their health, and as they're growing up, and as well as, your grandparents and just everything, so there's a lot of different things to think about. And I think that I believe that the person who is the healthiest definitely is somebody who is working out, who has who's meditating in the morning, who has that spiritual, physical, and, you know, um, and mindset, positive mindset, and all of those put together. Because people who are going out in fresh air, if you just stay in all day, no, it's not going to work for you. So the rituals are really, really important.
Mm.
Take your breaks, walk away from the computer. If you're having dinner, you know don't listen to the cell phones, because it's an important time to communicate.
Hmm.
Find time during the weekends to go out and have fun, be locked in. We know, I think what's really important too is that, like, people don't even know how to communicate anymore. And the older that children get, the less they just want to text or whatever. It's like, gosh, there's so much going into a holistic lifestyle that's almost going back to basics again,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
When you
very
think
much.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it
So
is.
does,
I
does
mean,
that answer your question?
yeah, I
Okay.
think so. I think what I see as an underlying theme in the work that you do is really helping us to preserve the humanity and our natural, like, holistic ways of being, and being mindful of, and aware of some of these, the harms of, exposure to really, unhealthy environments and lifestyles. One of as you were talking, I was reminded of one of the things that Greg Braden talked about, how we've learned so much about our human gifts and stuff at this time, and we're at a kind of a critical juncture where there are transhumanist agendas to, really, start, like you said, wearing things and eventually implanting things and becoming very much more of a technological species. And yet we are also at this really critical time where we're recognizing a lot of our spiritual gifts and capacities. It would be really sad to give up our innate human gifts in to replace them with plugging into an AI. So I feel like there's decisions to be made, as conscious parents, as people, and I think what you talk about with the lifestyle. I think if people will start first with the lifestyle, because I feel like we're conditioned in a lot of ways in a lot of functions, like from the media, you said social media, but also educational institutions and stuff that are breed conformity and all this. We're not often encouraged to think our own thoughts, and I feel like we often have it backwards. Neil Donald Walsh talked about this. It's become very popular thought. It's the have. We're conditioned to think have, do, be. Well, when I have the new phone, then I'll text all the new things to my friends and I'll be happy. Or when I have the $1,000,000, then I can do what I want. I'll be free, and then I'll be free. But really reversing that and thinking, what is the lifestyle that we want? Do we want to be swimming in the oceans? Do we want to be playing with our kids robustly? Do we want to be enjoying conscious meals as a family? And I think starting from the lifestyle first, and then organizing life and making conscious decisions rather than falling into these traps of routine and not choosing our rituals wisely, is what I hear in your underlying message. Is that accurate?
Oh, totally, totally. And I mean, 100%. And, happiness comes from within. Health comes from within. Mindset comes from within. And, I mean, the last couple of weeks, I was so busy. I like just literally this morning, I said to myself, I was going down this rabbit hole of like, oh my God, I'm so busy. I have all this stuff to do. I went away. It was like literally for 3 weeks. I was home for like 3 days each week, not even. And I think it was home 6 days and 3 weeks. And on those two separate weeks, we were celebrating my birthday and my husband's birthday on two different. So it
Oh,
really
happy
was,
birthday.
thank you. And finally I said, you know what? I have abundance and I'm so grateful. Why am I going to go down this dark hole of I'm so busy. I don't have time for anything. And it really was. I was like just exasperated. And finally I just said to myself, wait a minute. I am so grateful. I spent a week with my, family and Thanksgiving, being surrounded. It was such a perfect time, and I had that opportunity. And then I just sort of started reframing my brain about, my daughter just graduated and had her college graduation, and we had a big party, and I got to witness that. And wow, it's like I started going through all the things that, even I say it's prosperity and abundance because it is. It's abundance of people, of human contact, of laughing, of food, of moments to be grateful for, community, and being able to go to see people. And that is abundance. Abundance comes in so many ways, shapes, and forms, right? So I think that, we do get caught up in just the physical
Hmm.
and what, it is to be because we're marketed as to be, we're marketed to have millions and millions of dollars. And if we're not happy if we can't afford these things. So come back to who we are again. And I think, but I do want to make sure that people understand some really important things that they can take tips away with EMF protection.
Sure.
I'm going to segue back again. Because there's so many amazing things to talk about, like, or, and to
Hmm.
touch on. I want to make sure that you're not sleeping with your phone in your bed.
Hmm.
I am shocked at the amount of people. The most recent testing, I have it right here, is 87% of people sleep with the phone in their bedroom, which I do not. Um, Out of the 87% of people who sleep with a phone in their bedroom, 62%, sleep within arm's reach because they use it as their it's their
Alarm
alarm
clock.
clock, it's
Yeah.
their everything, it's their phone in case it's an emergency, all these different, and then maybe even medical situations they need to
Hmm.
have it. But then 71% of children, we're talking teenagers, youth, sleep with it in their beds
Hmm.
or right next to them, falling
Wow.
asleep at night.
Wow.
And so I
It's wild.
say, yes, you know, let's get back to good habits,
Hmm.
and what makes sense. Is it better to sleep with a teddy bear or a human being next to you if you're an adult, or a mother, a child, whatever it may be, rather than a cell phone? That is not your partner. It is a technology, it is a tool.
Yeah.
And falling asleep with AirPods in your ears is not healthy. Falling asleep with, you can go to sleep reading a book is healthy. Do a meditation before you go to sleep. Say your prayers or you're going to go to bed. Do a meditation. There's so many different things you can do.
Yeah.
Um, so that was really important. The second thing is and for children, especially parents, it's like don't have them like after a certain time, 7, 8 o'clock, take it out of their bedrooms. So don't let the children have their cell phones in their rooms. That's it, bar none. The end. Second thing is make sure your Wi-Fi router, don't do like Sherinata did to grow a brain tumor. Don't keep it in your bedroom. Don't keep it near your bedroom. Don't keep it within 8 to 10 feet from you.
Mm.
It's really, really important. If you're all the time in your office and it happens to be in your office, don't keep it there. Move it
Hmm.
because it will affect your body. It's radiating on you every single moment. Your body cannot breathe. It cannot heal. Really important.
Mm.
And oh my God, there's like so many other ones.
What about
Just
grounding, Sharonata? Do you talk a lot about
oh, I
grounding?
love it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes. I have a grounding mat. I use it all the time. I sleep with one. I think that, or at times I just go outside. I'm just because I live in Florida, South Florida, so I can go outside all the time and I have my feet in the grass constantly.
Yeah.
I think that that's so important. And even going back to the eyes, if you take your eyes, this is somebody I know who actually teaches this. Eye healing is go out into the sun. You put your fingers over your eyes like this, and you just stare at the sun like for, I think it's like a minute or 30 seconds. Then you take them off, keep them closed for a minute, and then you open your eyes up, come back, and then you do it again. You do it 3 times. First, before you do it, I want you to think about and notice how everything looks before you do it. And then when you do it after you do it 3 times, you're going to be surprised at how healing your eyes will be, how much
Mm.
crisper you will see. So that is a huge healing tool for eyes. So yeah, so I mean there's so really, really important that all those little things. Of course, don't keep it on your body, don't keep it in putting your cell phone in your pocket or your bras. Think about all those things, which is everybody's putting in their pockets, and that's a whole nother topic. So I want people to understand that yes, it's it is your body, it's your device, it's your space. And I believe in shungite because shungite carries its own electrical field. It is the actual field of our body, of our earth, and it works exactly the same. It carries a carbon 60 molecule, it's all online. It's considered the molecule of the 21st century. There's just so much behind it. It's a carrier used in science and carbon filters. It's between a diamond and a piece of coal. It's right in
Mm.
between. It's the fullerene, Buckminster Fuller, Bucky Balls. So all these little things I'm saying, look them up, look them up, look them up, because I'm not kidding you. It's like all
Hmm.
the information's there. So what's really important to know is that you buy it from somebody who's reputable, who's been in the business, because I have people who have come to me and said, I bought this black stone, black bead, and it doesn't work. And I said,
Hmm.
that's because you didn't buy it from me or from somebody reputable. So that's really, really important because shungite looks just like onyx or tourmaline and things like that. Some people say tourmaline's EMF protection. It truly is not, it doesn't work like shungite does. Selenite, not so much either. But if they're combined, they can all work together. So that's just really important to know. And attenuates the field, neutralizing that field. If you're in a copper, if you're using all silver, using all aluminum, it's going to, you're with like a Faraday cage or pack or whatever bag, you're not going to get a cell phone signal at all. Okay. So if you want to be able to use your phone, if you want to be able to use these things, then it's important to use something that will neutralize it and it's known for, how it works. And have you ever do you know how to test your shungite to see if it's new?
No, I do
No?
not.
If it's real? Okay. So here is a real little flashlight, nothing magical about it, right? Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to take off the end of it. You got to make sure you use the little LED ones because it won't work. And I'm going to take off the conductor.
Okay.
Okay. And now let's see, it has nothing on it. So it's not going to work, right? Yet, if I'm going to put my pyramid on here, I'm going to put it, and that's it. It works.
Oh, interesting.
It's even brighter because it's carrying its own electrical field. It's actually harmonizing your body. It's bringing back, the natural resonance of our
Hmm.
body, the humanness to it. So even the beads do the same thing, just the
Mm.
little beads. So it's really important. That's why it works the way it does.
Okay.
And it's very, very important to know that. And that's why it's like, putting them on the smartwatch bands, which I will never wear a smartwatch, or the Aura bands, putting them around there so it can help to neutralize it. If you're insisting on wearing meta glasses, I don't know if you know this, but you know, we know who created meta glasses, right? Mr. MZ there. And so anyway, he doesn't even allow his children on social media.
Yeah.
They don't even use technology.
Yeah.
So it's like all these leaders in technology do not let their kids on the technology.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, for
come
sure.
on. That's right there. That's a given. So just do your research and think, what are they doing to us in our minds? They don't
Hmm.
even let their children do it, but yet they're feeding us. It's good. It's okay. It's safe. It's safe. No, it's not. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it. No, it's not. And until you're able to use it wisely. So the cell phone stickers that we create go underneath the case. That way it's right on there and they're flat so they don't fall off. They're not in the way. Some people need one, some people need two. As I muscle test and do, regular kinesiology on people, some people, because we say it's not one size fits all. So it's
Hmm.
really important to know, are you weaker? How is your immune system? Are you immune compromised? Um, those things to think about. Maybe you need a larger sticker, maybe you need a little bit more than your spouse or whoever it might be. So those are the things that I think are really, really important. I always say, people always ask me, well, where should I start? Where should I start with protection? And I always say, you know what, you start with putting something on your device that you're always going to use, which is your cell phone. And then you always, you know wear something that that you're going to wear, whether it's the bracelet, whether it's the earrings, whether it's the necklace, whatever that you're going to wear all the time, just wear it. That way wherever you go, that you have something on you that's protected. And and then like I always say, the pyramid too is really important because that way you can keep it at your computer, you have it at your bedside, wherever you are, and that way it's neutralizing the space within you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. No, I appreciate your perspective, Sharonata. Thank you for sharing this. And so you do have a Shopify store where people can purchase these things, right? And it's verifiable sources of shungite. Do you want to tell people about that?
Oh, about my store?
Yeah.
I had a little thing that came up. I guess it was moving my hands around. I hit something and it says, you already raised your hand again. Oh, I can't talk. If I had to sit on I'm Italian, so I can't even sit on my hands. It's
So
like I gotta use.
so is Julia. Yeah.
Anyway, yes, you can get to our store through going to CareliaCreations.com, or some people remember AuthenticShungite.com. Either one, they're both for us. We mostly ship to the US right now and Canada, and for our Canadian friends that we love so much. Hint, hint. And, but I do have a lot of Canadian friends. And, so for right now, that's where we ship to.
Okay.
And at some point, maybe next year, outside of the US.
Okay.
Um, And usually it's, we have free shipping thresholds and things like that, but not so much for Canada because everything's so weird right now. And yeah, and then I think we're going to give you a code that's going to be 10% off for your first time purchases. And it is called, what is the code called that
I
it
think you
was
said it was going to be LHV 10.
LHV 10. Yes, that is it. And then we're going to put that in the show notes. And then we're also going to add in the show notes for whoever would like to get my free EMF Protection Made Simple ebook. They're welcome to get that too. So we'll give you the link for that as well. And just remember that once you click on it, it may have a charge on it, but once it's in the cart, it will it goes through, it won't be charged.
Oh, okay.
So you'll
Okay.
be fine with that. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
And
Well,
go
yeah, I
ahead.
really appreciate your mission, Sharonata, and thank you for coming on and sharing your story. I always like to ask some guests, if you had like a megaphone and you could talk to the whole world all at once, what would you say to everybody?
What do I say to everybody? Oh my gosh, shout out from the mountaintops, right? I just, believe in who you are, in your spiritual being living in this physical universe, and you're just visiting here for a little bit. Make it the best that you can. Be the
Hmm.
healthiest you can and live your life to the fullest.
Hmm.
YOLO. We say we only live once on this planet, but there may be in other times and spaces. We're not going to go into that one. But yeah, that would be it. It's like, just really truly get the most out you can in life and be in community.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. A reminder of our interconnection, and YOLO maybe means there is only one life that we're all living. So there's many ways of looking at it, right? I really appreciate you
Hmm.
coming on, Sharonata. Is there anything else you wanted to share with our guests before we ask our daughter to come and say thanks for watching?
Yeah. Well, if you guys have any questions, follow me on social media, Karelia Creations on social media, reach out
Okay.
to me, email hello@kareliacreations.com. Yeah, and because you know what, it's important to be educated and I'm sure people have questions. So
Yeah.
we're just a email or a social media away.
Sounds wonderful. And you're certainly welcome to join our school community as well, Sharonata. You'll be receiving an email of that. School is a really wonderful place that is out of the social media sphere, I would say. There's no advertisements. It's really based on pure community, and it's a different kind of place that we found, and we're enjoying connecting with people through school. So you might want to check that out as well. And yeah, thanks for your mission. Thanks for uplifting people. And
Is that in your show notes?
yes, you will be receiving an email as well with our an invitation to that. And if you ever decide to start your own community, there's an affiliate link there. What's unique about school is it's like this platform where all boats can rise together, and it really is based on like authentic engagement. The whole platform is gamified in a way that encourages people to be to really contribute. And there's no, like I said, there's no ads or anything. There's no algorithms following what we're doing. It's really more about connection and people finding their soul families and their tribes. So yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. I
Yeah.
can't say enough good things about it in terms of space, but what I like probably most about it is that it's reinventing how people are gathering physically in community. So I never heard the term IRL before, but it's something that what's neat about school is you can see on a map who's in a particular community. So if you're traveling to an area, you can always reach out to someone and say, "Hey, I'm going to be in the
Oh,
area," and or people are actually doing a lot of in person real life events as well. So I feel like there's this hunger for humanity to return to community. So I love that you ended it on that note about living our best life and doing it in a way that uplifts others too, because we're here for reasons beyond ourself, right?
yes,
Yeah.
we are. Thank you so much, Nathaniel. I really appreciate this conversation, and I look
Yeah.
forward to sharing it with everybody out in my community as well.
Sounds wonderful. Sounds wonderful. Well, with that, I'm going to invite our daughter, Luciana, to come and say thanks for watching.
The moon is right, the spirit's up. We're here tonight, lets you know. Simply having a wonderful Christmas time. Simply having a wonderful Christmas time. The party's on, the feeling's here.
We wish you a
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year! Can you say Merry Christmas, everybody?
Yeah.
Say it.
Happy New Year.